Hey friends, so this is just a backup video to show you how to make this little art bot in case there are some details that you missed when I did it for you for the Art to Go program. So this little art bot has 3 markers on the bottom, but yours might have more or less depending, well probably not less, but it could have more depending on how you want your art bot to look. And what you do is you just turn it on and your art bot draws. Now, the fun thing about this is that not only does it draw this random design, when you are finished making your art bot, you can decorate it any way you want, make it into a fun character, okay? All right, so I'm going to go over the directions on how to do this just in case when we were doing it for Art to Go, you missed some of those directions. I'm going to put this aside. So, in your art kit, your Art to Go kit, you had a battery holder and 2 batteries, so you need those. You need this little motor. You're going to need a switch, and then you're going to need this little piece of wire that's going to connect the switch to the motor. You're also going to need markers. You can use any kind of markers. You can use Sharpies, you can use magic markers, whatever you want. You can even experiment with using crayons and colored pencils once you get this going. You're going to need this counterweight. That's what makes it move around. The motor turns it on, but this is what makes it move. And then I also included some things you could decorate with. So I just have these little googly eyes here, but I'm going to be putting probably feathers and pipe cleaners and things like that in your kit. And then you're going to need some kind of can. So this one that I showed you earlier, this is just a soup can. You could use a Pringles can. You can pretty much use anything. Okay, so, and the last thing you're going to need is a glue gun, okay? Now, if you are working with a glue gun, please make sure that you have an adult there or you are familiar with how to use a glue gun because they do get super duper hot. Okay, so I'm going to get my glue gun. It's plugged in, and I'm going to bring it over. Okay, so the first thing you're going to do is you are going to glue your battery pack on. Now, you do need to be careful on your battery pack. On the back, there's these little holes. You don't want the glue leaking through those little holes. So you don't need a ton of glue. So just put, make sure you can see this, just put some glue on the sides. Again, be careful, it's hot. And stick it on your container. Hold it down for a little while just until the glue cools down, and then you can make sure that your battery pack is stuck, okay? Okay, the next thing you're going to need to do is to hot glue your motor on. Now, watch carefully. Your motor has 2 sides. On this side, you see these little tabs. That needs to be on the top. Let me scoot this down a little bit so you can see this a little bit better. Okay. Okay, so these little tabs need to be on the top. These 2 little tabs, they need to be on the top. So you're going to want to put the glue on the bottom of that. And you do want your motor to be as flat as possible. So where I have this extra glue from the last time I tried to do this, I'm not going to put my motor there. I'm going to make sure that I put it where it can be nice and flat. Also, this part of your motor needs to stick out of the can, not in, because this is what's going to spin. Okay, so put a little bit of glue on the bottom and then secure it to the top of the can. Okay? All right, so right now we have our motor on, and we have the 2 tabs on the top, and we have our battery pack on. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to start with the wiring. Okay, so the black wire, you can see that it has this part that doesn't have the plastic on it. That's going to need to go through one of these holes, okay? And once you thread it through, fold it over and twist it so it doesn't come off. If it comes off, then your art bot is going to shut off because the circuit will be broken, okay? Okay, so I don't know if you can see that I twisted it on there, okay? All right, and now the red one is going to go into one of these little slots on your switch. So I'm just going to put that through, only one of the slots, and then I'm going to wrap it around just like I did with the other one. Okay. Sometimes it takes a little patience to make this happen. You have to be careful and work carefully. Okay. Okay, now the next thing we need to do is attach the switch to the other side of the motor. Okay, so you can see that this one needs a piece of red wire and it needs to be attached to right here. So that extra little piece, that's what this is for. Okay, so you're going to take this little end, doesn't matter which end, and you're going to put it up through. You do want to make sure that all of those little wires go through this. You can see that this is like kind of almost looks like a brush. Make sure you can twist them to make sure they stay together. You want to make sure all of them go through that little hole there, okay? Again, it takes a little finesse. Okay, and then once you get it through, just like we did on the other ones, don't just let it hang there. Make sure you wrap it around so that it won't slip off. Okay? Okay. And now we have the other side. You can see it's kind of, those little wires are starting to split a little bit. So again, twist it. Okay, so they'll stay together. And then that is going to go through this other empty hole there. Put that through and again twist it so that it doesn't come loose. Okay. Okay. So now we've got everything wired, or so we hope. Okay. So we're going to give it a little test and see if it's going to work. So take your batteries and pay attention to how your batteries need to be put in the battery holder. There's one battery and there's the other one, okay? And you're going to pull this up, pull this little flap up, this little metal thing, and let's try to turn it on. And if it's working, you'll hear a little whirring sound and you'll see this thing where my index finger is, you'll see that move. Oh, not working. Well, I'm actually kind of glad. Wait a second, this might need to go down. I'm kind of glad because I want you to learn how to troubleshoot. So if you do something like this and it doesn't work, what are we going to do to try to fix it? The first thing I'm going to do is put this down, and now it works, okay? Can you hear that? Right, so now we know that that's working, and I'm going to turn the switch to off because we don't want this spinning around right now. And I'm going to hot glue my switch somewhere on here. I think I'm going to try to put it somewhere. It doesn't really matter where you put it. It kind of makes sense to put it where there's a little more space. So I think I'm going to put it like right on the edge here. So I'll just put a little bit of hot glue right on this side and hot glue that on, so that my switch is easy to reach, okay? All right, so the next step is we are going to take this glue stick and pull the thumbtack out. I put a thumbtack in it so that the hole would be started for you, so it wouldn't be so hard to put it on here. So put it on. Okay, and now watch what happens to this. Okay, so you know that's working. Okay. All right, now the next step is to put the markers on. So I would suggest that you cut some tape ahead of time because it takes, again, a little bit of finagling to get this. If you have somebody to help you, this would be the time to say, hey, can you come and help me so that you can hold these markers on while I tape them on. Oops, and that's all of the duct tape I have, so hopefully I will not need any more. Now, you want your markers to be, let's look at this sample that I already did. You want your markers to be at about the same, sticking up from the bottom at the same length sticking out from the bottom, right? So what I'm saying is you want this to stand up straight. You don't want it to be like tipped like that, okay? So to make sure that happens, you kind of need to do a little bit of measuring. So I can see that the bottom of the can is here, so I also want to be able to make sure I can take the marker off. So I'm just going to kind of line up that color right there with the bottom of the can. Okay, and tape it on. I mean, it doesn't have to be absolutely perfect, but you want it to be pretty even. So you see where the white part is between the little line here and the cap? I'm going to try to make sure that that's where I tape the blue one on as well. Okay, and you can see why it's kind of helpful to have a friend hold this for you so that your can doesn't start rolling around while you're trying to tape this on. And you do want them to be taped on straight down, at least to start with. Once you get your ArtBot going and you want to do some experimenting with it, and then you can try untaping it and tape it on crooked and see how that affects it, okay? All right, so let's put this last piece on. Okay. And I'm going to take the lids off. At this point, you could, first I just want to see if it works before I would start decorating. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is turn this on. And it's not really moving. Oh, whoops, be careful, don't let that happen. It's not really moving, so I'm gonna have to do some troubleshooting and figure out why it's not moving. Okay, so maybe it has to do with how my pens are placed. So let me try changing that a little bit. It also might have something to do with the counterweight. The counterweight is this glue stick. Maybe it's not big enough, maybe it's too big. I'm not sure. I know that the motor's working, so I know that's not going to be a problem. So I'm not going to try to troubleshoot with changing anything with the motor because I know that that's working. I have a funny feeling it has something to do with this counterweight. And so if that doesn't work, there are other things you can use, like you can put an eraser on it and see if that works. And you can also experiment a little bit and see, you know, if I put an eraser on it, how does it change my design? If I put something that's really long on it, how does that change my design? If I put something that's skinny on it, how does that change? I think what the problem is that my can is too big for the size of glue stick I have here. So I wonder if this glue stick is, we're going to try this bigger glue stick and see if that changes things. I'm actually going to start the hole with my, what do you call this thing? Thumbtack. Because it's kind of hard actually to stick the glue stick on there. I've seen people do it on YouTube and I'm like, how do you do that? And I also noticed that anytime I watch something on YouTube, it always totally works the first time, which is not how it is in real life. So that's why I'm not doing this over, because I want you to see that things don't always work the way you want them to do the first time. So you've got to troubleshoot and figure out what's wrong. All right, let's see what happens. Aha. Okay, so now it's working a little bit better. I think that was the problem, is that my can is really big in, compared to how big my counterweight was. My can was kind of big. So if I had an even heavier weight on there, I bet you it would work even better. Let's turn this off a second. And I kind of want to try, I don't think I have an eraser close by, but I would really like to try using, oh, I do. Let's try this eraser and see if that changes it. And that's kind of the fun thing about this, is just to try different things and see how it changes, how it works. Now I can already see that there could be a problem because it's a little bit close to the edge of the can. Now I wear glasses, so I'm not worried about my eyes, but if you were doing something like this, you would want to be careful so that it doesn't fly off and hit you. Okay. Ah, there we go. Okay. So we needed something a little bit heavier, and now our ArtBot goes like crazy. That is so awesome. I'm so excited. Okay, so once you have your motor wired and everything is working, try experimenting with what you have on the end here and see how it changes the design that your ArtBot makes. Experiment with having extra markers down here and see what happens. So those are some fun things you can do with your ArtBot to see you know, just to do some experiment. Okay, friends, well, I really hope you enjoyed this Art to Go project. I think it was really fun. Oh, one more thing. So now I'm ready to decorate this. So you would just take whatever I gave you and whatever you can find around the house. Maybe you want to paint this. Maybe you just want to cover it with duct tape like I did on this one. But decorate it so it's kind of fun. It looks like a little robot. And have fun with this. I think it's a great project. And I really look forward to seeing the designs that your ArtBot makes and what your ArtBot looks like. So let's do two at a time here and see. We'll close out with two at a time. Whoops! Ah! All right, friends. So much fun. Crash. Okay, guys. I will see you at school.